right.
with the rest of
Once again, I just want to thank everybody for dropping everything and being able to attend this quick meeting. It became necessary because of letters that have to be signed. And it has to do with the irrevocable letter of credit. So I'm going to let, and first of all, we got to go back and I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Commissioner Bunting.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Murphy.
Here.
Commissioner Lambert.
Here.
Commissioner Bailey.
Here. We're going to dispense with the Pledge of Allegiance and roll call today. The only thing I'm going to ask for is a public comment. And Matt, is there anybody on that would like to make a public comment on our emergency meeting?
I do see a lot of people connected. There are a couple of people that don't have video going right now. So if anybody does want to make public comment, if they could just unmute themselves and go ahead and say so. I'm not seeing anyone unmuting.
Okay. We have before us just one course of business today. It's the letter of credit exchange from the BB Renewable Energy Wind Farm. It was, I believe, signed back in 2013. We just found out that it is up. It's a 7-year, and we weren't even thinking about it at this time, but it has come up on us. I do have Tracy that's going to take over the meeting now because she's embroiled in all the information. We do have Bill Fahey, our attorney, online, and also some representatives. Let me, first of all, before Tracy gets started, let me have you all that are online introduce yourselves and who you represent. So I don't know which one to start first, but.
I can go ahead and start. My name is Gene Miles. I work within the Treasury Department of Exelon Corporation. And I am facilitating the refinancing of Continental Wind Farm, the owner of the BB facility.
Okay, next.
Hello, everybody. I'm Kyle O'Mara. I'm an associate in Bill Fahey's office.
Okay, next.
And I'm Bill Fahey, and I'm here to try to work through this, explain anything that you need to have explained, answer your questions so that we can get this transaction done quickly as it needs to be done.
And I believe we had one more.
Yep, this is John Dunlap with the law firm of Foley and Lardner. I'm outside counsel to Exelon in connection with this financing and the exchange of the L.
Okay.
Brian, are you on the line?
Yeah, I'm Brian Conrad. I'm a commercial project manager with Exelon in the wind operations group.
Okay, very good. All right, I believe all the players have been introduced. Tracy, if you want to go ahead and give us the preamble to this, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, George, you really covered a fair bit of it, but I'll say a few things and then everyone who has just introduced themselves can correct every single thing that I've just said. I guess I'll join the chorus in thanking all of you for joining us on what has been pretty short notice. We do find ourselves needing to exchange the letter of credit that ensures some decommissioning costs on one of our wind farms. By way of history, in December of 2013, the Royal Bank of Canada, a well-known banking institution to all of us here in Gratiot County, issued a letter of credit in support of the obligations of BB Renewable Energy. And this was on a project that I believe by Continental Wind at that time. The letter of credit guaranteed payment of up to $1 million to Gratiot County should we be left to decommission wind turbines once they were no longer in service. As it turns out, this letter of credit was a 7-year letter and it expires on September 23rd. Royal Bank of Canada is substituting PNC for this successor letter of credit. And this transaction is to take place tomorrow. I think that folks wanted it to happen today, but it's set over to tomorrow. Ours is one of 13 or 14 transactions of this sort that are lined up to happen. This date got set ahead of this board's regularly scheduled meeting next Tuesday, and hence the need for this special meeting so that we could help to keep this thing going. Accepting this exchange, and I wanted to get you together because accepting this exchange and executing these documents must, in my view, be done by this board rather than being done unilaterally by me. So you have been provided documents that have been sent to us that are to be used and are to memorialize this exchange. I sent them to you electronically yesterday, also again today. And for those of you in attendance, which I guess is just George at this point, I have hard copies there at your bench for you. Now it is thick reading and on very short notice. So our legal counsel, Bill Fahey, thank goodness, is joining us to help explain the process and to explain the documents you have in front of you. Apparently, Bill is supported today by every individual who works for Exelon Corporation and all their various departments. And I joke, but I'm very pleased that you could join us to help us to understand this process. You folks can approach this in any way you like. I might suggest, Bill or any one of you, you could begin by correcting everything I've said, supplementing what I've said, or you could begin with an additional general review of this situation, or the board could just offer questions. But of those options, I might suggest that, Bill, you would go ahead and provide a little overview, unless you would like to defer in that to one of our Exelon folks.
Well, thanks, Tracy. Let me say, first of all, that you've summarized it well. George also summarized it well. It's not a very complicated transaction, although it does involve $1 million, and so I understand that gets all of our attention. We have a $1 million letter of credit currently that's going to expire on September 23rd. And Exelon is in the process right now of refinancing that and is doing so in connection with a number of other projects at the same time. So they're trying, I don't envy them. They're trying to obviously do a lot of things at once. And I'm sure that we're just a small part of their transaction. And I appreciate their cooperation in allowing us to try to get this done as soon as we can. So what we basically need to do is to authorize George to sign a letter that will release our letter of credit with the Royal Bank of Canada, and to replace that with a identical or nearly identical letter of credit that we're going to receive from PNC Bank. So the way it will work is this: we'll have George sign a letter, and we'll also need to have a copy of the Royal Bank of Canada letter of credit attached to that letter, which we're going to then facsimile or email to the folks who are going to be sitting in a room somewhere closing this deal. They will take that. They will also send to us a very similar letter saying this is the new PNC letter of credit that's going to be used to replace the letter of credit you're currently holding from Royal Bank of Canada. So once we get all those things circulated, we will we'll all be able to know then that at this closing that there has been a substitution. We'll follow that up after we've been assured that those documents have all been issued and are available. We'll follow that up by sending the actual hard copy of the Royal Bank of Canada letter of credit back to the Royal Bank of Canada so that they can close it. And then we'll also get a hard copy sent to us of the PNC Bank letter of credit that we'll be able to use. It will have an expiration date in September, at the end of September in 2023. So that will be an additional 3-year period that will have that security to assure the decommissioning of the BB project.
Bill, is it my understanding that that letter will automatically renew at 1-year periods after that, or is it just a total of the 3 years?
So it's for the 3 years, and it's possible, obviously, to renew it, but that's going to be ultimately up to the bank and to the county. But we can certainly count on it being effective through September 30, 2023.
Okay, or September 23rd, perhaps?
No, for whatever reason, it's going to be, as I recall, it's September 30. The one that is expiring is September 23rd.
Okay, very good, very good.
And I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't think it's a terribly complex transaction, but I certainly understand if anyone has any questions.
Or is there anyone from Exelon or perhaps you, Mr. Dunlap, that would have anything you would want to add to what George, Bill, and I have offered?
This is John at Foley. It's all been characterized correctly. You know, in normal times, we might deal with this by me taking the original letter of credit and standing in Bill's lobby until he and I are ready to literally hand them off. But in COVID times, we've come up with this alternative path for exchanging the LCs instead that doesn't require anyone to leave their desks or homes or go anywhere. So the cancellation letter is a little unusual, is not always part of exchanging LCs, but we think that this is the best process that's available to us under these circumstances.
Mr. Dunlap, in addition to my relying on our counsel, Mr. Fahey, tomorrow to move all these documents around in proper form, who is my direct contact on your end of this for questions that I might have and guidance that I might need?
It can be any of Brian, Jean, or me. We're all working together on this. And the best thing to do if you have any questions is just to email all three of us, but one of us will surely get back to you.
Okay. I wonder then, the documents that you have in front of you, I did provide you some email communication between Bill and me just to provide you a little bit of context. The old or current and expiring letter of credit from Royal Bank of Canada is in front of you. For those of you that are there and live, I've numbered these. There's a number 2 up in the top corner here of this letter, current letter of credit. And then number 3, this funny looking type, that's the document that is proposed language for the replacement letter of credit. And again, it reads a great deal like the current letter issued by Royal Bank of Canada. So what we are looking for from this board is acceptance of this exchange and then authorizing George to sign, execute any documents that might be needed in order to effect this transaction. In order to make those decisions or to cast that vote, do you have any additional questions about this? If you do, please remember to unmute yourselves.
I'm a little broke this week. Do we know how many windmills are in that BB project?
Not off the top of our heads, and the letter.
I believe it's 28.
Yep.
I can look it up, but I looked at that this morning, Chuck, and I believe it's 28.
Okay, excellent.
I have a question. Is that was the second phase, right?
Jan, you were here a long time before we all were, so I can't tell you that.
I think it is. I thought it was 50 because you had 133 altogether, and you would have had 133. You take 133 from 88. Isn't
Well,
it
let me
just
look,
a minute?
I'm probably wrong, but let me look it up here. Just, it's gonna take me a minute, but I've got it written down. I just gotta find it.
It'd be 55. It's 55. What I was wondering is why there's only $1 million for 55, but there's
Well-
10.5 million for the last bunch that just went in.
I can
That's
address
my
that.
concern
I,
also.
you know, I
Bill is ready to answer your question.
Yeah, if I can address that. No, I was not involved in the BB project, but keep in mind that the nature of the security is different. So the security that is in place for the BB project is a letter of credit, which is basically the equivalent of cash. There's cash that is on deposit with the bank. And the bank, absolutely, all you need to do with a letter of credit is to present a draw, to draw on it, and you will receive that money. In respect to the more recent transaction, what we have is a surety bond. It is for a larger amount, but it is a different kind of security. One of the things that I think we may want to discuss, this is down the road, not for today, but just to think, is maybe we want to substitute or discuss substituting a surety bond for this project for the letter of credit that the developer has currently posted. There could be benefits for both the county and the developer in doing that in terms of how much protection there is and how much cost there is. But that's something down the road that we need to talk about. Right now, we have a letter of credit. That's what we negotiated in the deal that we have for BB. And this is simply a question of substituting $1 million letter of credit for the one that exists.
And I would only add that we can't be doing that negotiation now. These things have to happen separately. And the moment that we have arrived at today is just making sure we doing what we have to do to make sure that we have a continuing letter of credit, and we can take those other steps going forward. Mr. Fahey and I have already talked about that.
yes, I don't think it's up to us anyway. I think it's up to the townships. That should be between people who put the wind turbines in and eventually will take them out. I was just curious why it was different. I'm sorry too, I did something and I lost myself on the screen here. So I'm going to have to learn how to use this soon.
Are there any other questions that the board might have in order to be ready to vote on what the issues as I think I've correctly framed them?
I have a question. Are we going to vote today?
Yes.
I thought
Well,
three of
yeah.
us had to be. I thought three of us had to be there.
Well,
No.
there's
I thought three of
five
us
of
had to
them.
be.
No.
There's five.
Pardon?
There are five.
I know, but I thought three of us had to be at the courthouse.
No, the governor's
No.
executive.
Go ahead.
That's correct. The governor's executive order currently says that none of us have to be at the courthouse. We can meet absolutely virtually. And that's something that is going to at least be true at this point until close to the end of next month.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why we've been Zooming all this time. So
Right.
today's no different.
I would
Yeah.
suggest that if the governor's emergency orders are finally ruled by a judge to be unconstitutional and not in effect, we'll have to redo this. Because Jan is correct. Normally, we would have to have 3 people there.
Exception noted, Chuck. Okay. If we don't have any other questions pertinent to what we're doing, I would ask, pardon?
George Sam has a question.
I got
Okay.
just a couple quick questions for Bill.
Yeah.
Bill, why are they changing banks? Is it a better deal for them, or what's the reasoning behind changing banks for this letter of credit?
I can't answer that question. If the applicant wants to address that, that'd be fine. But I have no idea why the change in banks is happening at this time. I don't have a problem with PNC Bank. I think that's a very
Oh,
acceptable.
no, I think bringing it back here is fine. I don't know if it's due to currency exchange or what, but.
Yeah,
Gene,
Yeah.
do you want to take that?
Yeah, Continental Wind, which has 13 wind farms, BB being one of them, has a borrowing facility. It has 5 banks that are part of that group. RBC was one of them. These facilities have a term. This one had a 7-year term. So we have to go out to our bank group and say who's interested in participating in our refinancing of this facility. And RBC, we're just swapping out for PNC. No particular reason other than an interest to be a lender of ours, like our other lenders. So there's no real rhyme or reason other than, these are relationship banks, and one would like to participate in this new 3-year facility that we are looking to execute tomorrow.
Thank you. And the other thing, Bill, you mentioned that the deal that we're going to get on a PNC Bank is nearly the same as the one we had so many years ago the deal's changing a little bit.
The only difference at all, Sam, is are things that you would expect to be different. Things like a different bank name, a different address, phone number.
I see that timing.
There's one paragraph that has slightly different language that is no significance to it at all.
Okay, that's all I have.
Yeah, and this is, we can talk more tomorrow, but the contact on any of these documents should be the county administrator. That was one of the snags we ran into with our communication this time. So if you would please make that adjustment and I noticed it, I think on the replacement letter or something, but if you would please make that note, the county administrator.
Any other questions?
I just have a quick comment, and this procedure, because we're not in a position, based on what I understand of the original agreement, where we can ask for something other than what they've promised us. And this, actually, Jan, I think you were the only member here who was on the board in 2013 when this was approved. But I agree with this idea that it may be mutually beneficial for us to look at something other than $1 million line of credit as a way of kind of guaranteeing that people in the county are not left on the hook for stuff happens. And that's the last resort. That's after you've gone bankrupt and the creditors have gone after them. And I think we've struggled. I know in general, there's always the question of, well, what's the right number? Because you try and figure out, well, what's the salvage value and what does it really cost and what's it going to cost, 10 years from now or whatever. But I think there may be some other options that are worth looking at. I mean, this is what we're going to do, and this will carry us another 3 years. But
anything else? Any other comments? By the way, Jan, you are correct. There's 55. There's 25 in North Star, 25 in Emerson, and 5 in Hamilton that make up the BB Wind Farm.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
I had that. I just had to find it. I had a lot of information.
Well,
I just don't know where to put it all.
Actually, there's really 190 because
No.
Wheeler Township had 2 parcels with 2 on each parcel, but it only showed up as that they had 1 on each. And finally, it now shows up that they had 56, not 54.
All right. Thank you.
And I want to take this moment too to thank you guys for putting this all together at such short notice.
Thanks. Okay. If we're ready, I will entertain a motion to allow me to sign the letter. Right.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Move and support it. Is there any other discussion to the subject? On that being said, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Commissioner Murphy,
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Lambert,
yes.
Commissioner Bailey.
Yes. If there isn't anything else,
Yes, I would like to take this moment and explain the behavior of Mr. Murphy. He's in where he's doing business while he's doing this conference. And it looked like he was either talking to God or talking to himself. I wish I had a movie of it. I was sitting here watching him. I'm thinking, God, I wish I had a movie of this. Because there was times he was looking up at the sky. And then
Well,
you kind of thought maybe he's going nuts.
This seems to be a part of our new normal with the Zoom method. So we're not all guaranteed to have a good picture.
We pay
He's got
Mr.
it pointed up towards the sky.
We pay Mr. Fahey by the second, so I wonder if we might be able to release him
Yes.
as your
Let me.
resources manager.
I don't think I ever charge you more than by the minute, but that's okay.
Okay.
We're coming up on a half hour, so we need
Right.
global
Can I
internet.
have a motion to adjourn?
One thing, if I can just add, I would like to work with you tomorrow, George.
Yeah.
Also with Tracy.
No problem.
To make sure it's done correctly.
We'll make it
Well,
happen.
I just didn't want you to go home thinking that we had a commissioner that talked to himself.
All right. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent, folks.